this is Tata, and welcome to the TNA Post Show. Tonight I am flying solo as Bert was not able to make it, but he'll be back next week. Don't worry. Alright, so before we get into tonight's show, let's kick things off talking about this week's explosion. We had a 2-match explosion, which I was really happy about because you guys know how I feel about 1-match explosion. We had some knockouts action. It was Rosemary versus Maggie Moore. Now that this was a really good match, great showing by Maggie Moore. I hope to see her more in TNA, and I really hope that they keep showcasing more knockouts in an explosion. We also had the Around the Ring segment. This time was featuring the king of TNA, Frankie Kazarian. Now, we learned that he's a big horror movie fan. His favorite movie is 1979's Halloween. I've actually never seen the original Halloween. I know. Feel free to throw tomatoes at the screen. I've never seen the original Halloween. And we also learned that Gia Miller's favorite horror movie is the movie Pearl, which I haven't seen. But apparently, Blair Witch Project is the most successful independent horror film. So we learned something new watching. That's why I really like these Around the Ring segments. I think we learn a lot about these wrestlers outside of the ring. So we had Travis Williams versus Steve Maclin. Last week we had Judas Icarus versus Steve Maclin. And with Steve Maclin in this match, this was actually a really good match. Steve Maclin getting the win. So now he owns 2 victories over the Northern Armory against Williams and against Icarus. Now he just has to slay that dragon and beat Josh Alexander. But overall, I thought this was a decent explosion this week. I really, like I said earlier, I like it when we have 2-match explosion. So, but what did you guys think of Explosion? Do you guys even bother watching Explosion? Like I've always said, and I've always ranted how they could do so much more with Explosion. Sometimes I forget PCO is Digital Media Champion because PCO doesn't defend his Digital Media title on Explosion. He should, because where does Explosion air? On the TNA app. What's the TNA app? Digital Media. I think it makes the most sense. You could do so much with Explosion. I don't want to get into it. I ranted about that before, but let's get into tonight's show. So I want to start off talking about this Jordynne Grace and Masha Slamovich face-to-face segment. Let me see. They had a good match with Steve Maclin versus one of the Sinner and Saints. The other match was just a typical Rosemary versus Jobber. So it was so. I actually really like that match. Maggie Moore. Like I said, I like it when they showcase knockouts. Explosion is what it is for a 2-match show, I think. Yeah, as long as you get a 2-match show, Explosion is decent. When it's a 1-match show, I really don't like a 1-match Explosion. So this segment was actually really good. I actually really liked the segment with Jordynne Grace and Masha Slamovich. Who can forget their incredible rivalry? They even mentioned it here. I agree. Maggie Moore has potential somewhere. She does. She definitely does. So as we all know, when Masha Slamovich first came to TNA, she was this badass, undefeated for 9 months until she came into contact with Jordynne Grace. She lost to Jordynne Grace 2 years ago at Bound for Glory. And then they fought each other 2 more times. They actually fought each other at Overdrive in a last knockout standing match, which Jordynne Grace won. And then on an episode of TNA Impact on April 27, 2023, which Jordynne Grace won too. So you could say Jordynne Grace has Masha Slamovich's number. Like, this rivalry has been my second favorite of Jordynne Grace, right behind Deonna Purrazzo versus Jordynne Grace. I mean, look how many matches it took for Jordynne to beat Deonna. It took 5 matches. Glad they brought up the history of Masha and Jordynne. I can see Masha beating Jordynne for a time. I could definitely see that too. I think it's Masha's time. Like, they bring up the fact that like she had to go to the knockouts tag team division. Masha says that it was to keep herself in the spotlight. And I really did like the tag team of Masha Slamovich and Killer Kelly. But I cannot wait for this match. As someone that's going to Bound for Glory, I cannot wait. This is going to be an incredible match. This is going to be their 4th match. I cannot wait. I honestly think Masha Slamovich is going to defeat Jordynne Grace. I love that they brought the realness and the friendship they have. Yeah, I really love that. This was really, really great. If you haven't seen their rivalry, go back and watch their rivalry. The 3 matches that I mentioned. Bound for Glory 2022, Overdrive 2022, Lost Knockout Standing, and that match from the TNA episode. I think that you guys will really enjoy these matches. They're fantastic matches. I cannot wait. I seriously cannot wait. With the rumors of Jordynne Grace leaving to WWE, I could definitely see her putting over Masha in this match. But I don't know, man. I'm so torn because part of me kind of thinks that maybe she'll hold on to the title at least to Hard to Kill. But I think it's Masha's time. It is Masha's time. Hope you have a fun weekend if you are taking in the yeah, I actually am going to tapings. I'm going to tapings too. So, but damn, I don't know. I am so torn. I want Masha to win, but there's always Hard to Kill and Final Resolution. But you know what? I'm gonna go with Masha. I think she's gonna take it. This is her time. All right, but I'll get more into that in predictions next week. So TNA Impact kicked off with a Pick Your Poison match. Digital media title and the international heavyweight title were online. It was Rhino versus PCO. I'm 50-50 on this match. Jordynne versus Masha. I can see Jordynne going to 1 year. Right? I'm so torn. I don't know. So this match was a pretty decent match. This was a Pick Your Poison. Matt Cardona chose Rhino for PCO. Like I said earlier, sometimes I forget PCO is digital media champion because he doesn't defend his digital media champion on digital media like he should. That's a whole different story. So PCO is victorious in this match after he hits the PCO start to Rhino. So I felt like this was a great way to kick off this week's episode. Congrats on Rhino. Oh yeah, before I forget, congratulations to Rhino, who is one inductee in this year's TNA Hall of Fame. As we all know, TNA Bound for Glory is taking place in Detroit, Michigan. And where is Rhino from? Detroit, Michigan. So congrats to him. I'm so happy I'm going to be there live to see that. So we get a Nic Nemeth interview, and he's talking about his main event against Matt Cardona, but he's also completely looking over Joe Henry because he basically says that when he wins at Bound for Glory, he's going to be a fighting champion. Now, which, you can't overlook Joe Henry just yet. But one of the things that I like about this is that they allude to their previous rivalry in WWE. Who can forget when Matt Cardona, when he was Zack Ryder, and Nic Nemeth was Dolph Ziggler, that incredible rivalry they had for the U.S. title. Zack Ryder using his YouTube channel, Z True Long Island Story, to build that. That was fantastic. So I really like that he kind of made reference to that when he said that Cardona used to be something special. We get an Arianna Grace segment, and she's the liaison. I'm not sure if I said that correctly. Hopefully I did. Of NXT, and she brings out her best friend Brinley Reece. Now you guys know I don't watch NXT on a weekly basis, so I don't know who this is. But I like the fact that the concierge basically was like, I can do it. I can do this so much better. And he introduces Ash by Elegance. Now, he does make references to the late Johnny Cash, because they were in Nashville, Tennessee. And I like how he makes references to Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash, which is a good song, in my opinion. And we get Ash by Elegance versus Brinley Reece. Now, this is my first time seeing Brinley Reece in action. She's actually pretty good. She really is. If there is anybody out there that watches NXT on a weekly basis, recommend a match, let me know. It's hard to describe Brinley Reece. She ain't on NXT TV that much. It was funny. She was Arianna's friend. Yeah, how many friends does Arianna Grace have? Like, this is like her third best friend. So, Ash by Elegance wins this with the Redify Air, and I thought this was I kind of thought that this was hilarious how they both do jumping jacks and push-ups. Like, first Ash does it, and then Reece does it. But Ash by Elegance wins, and we find out that next week there's gonna be a makeover VIP party. If you guys remember, they're taking Heather Reckless under their wing. They're gonna give her a makeover. I still think shout out to Brett. I know he's not here. Came up with the name of Reckless Elegance. I think that's a great tag team name. The whole women's division are her friends except Roxanne. Really? Why is that? Why not Roxanne? Now, at the end of this match, Ash by Elegance gives Brinley Reece a makeover by smearing that lipstick and then biting her face. This kind of reminds me of the Beautiful People when they used to give makeovers and then putting bags on people's heads. So I felt like that was an homage to that. And then Xia Brookside, came to Brinley Reece's aid. As we all know, Xia Brookside has had her issues with Ash by Elegance here. Maybe, but Burt gets what he predicted a lot. And the debut of Reckless Elegance next week. Fingers crossed. Yeah, maybe we're going to see the debut of Reckless Elegance. Because Roxanne is a heel champion, don't like anything else. Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, good segment. You guys know I like Ash by Elegance, and she's improved in her time being in TNA. So Rosemary, Wendy, Choo find out that they want those tag titles. Wendy Choo has the potential to make history. If they beat Spitfire at Bound for Glory, Wendy Choo will become the first interpromotional champion. You know, I still think that Spitfire should go to NXT and defend the tag titles over on NXT because, you know, right now TNA unfortunately does not really have a knockouts tag team division. I've said this before. They lost a lot of knockouts tag teams and it's taking them a while to rebuild that division. So I would personally think that they should go to NXT and defend over there. I like the makeup tactics. Very beautiful people, heelish. Yep. The only thing she was missing was the bag. Ash is more confident now, it feels like. I admit the first few months was hard to get used to her character, but I get it now. I never had an issue with her character and never had an issue with her matches. My issue was like I felt they pushed her too fast to the title scene, but her match with Jordynne Grace at Slammiversary was her best match. I think she's come a long way since she debuted in the few months that she's been there. I like NXT women getting involved in the Knockouts Tag Gold. Yeah, definitely. They should utilize NXT women for the Knockouts Tag Team division. Yeah, it was confirmed today on social media. On social Spitfire. Okay, I think you meant social media. Spitfire would defend versus Rosemary and Wendy at Bound for Glory. I could see Rosemary and Wendy. She's a comedy and a cocky heel. Yeah, she definitely is. I could definitely see Rosemary and Wendy Choo winning at Bound for Glory too. But it's definitely going to be an interesting dynamic there. Yeah, they pushed it too soon because Jordynne needed bodies to work with. I like their hardcore match. Yeah, that's the issue is that she didn't really have any credible challengers. Had Giselle Shaw not left, I definitely could have seen Giselle Shaw in that spot. Next, we get match of the night. It's X Division title match: Leon Slater versus Speedball Mike Bailey. Now, Leon Slater was trying to make history. Amazing Red holds the record for being the youngest X Division champion in history at the age of 21. Now, Leon Slater just turned 20, and I think I just heard my back crack because I'm like 11 years older than him. Ugh. Every time I mention his age, my back starts to hurt a little bit. So he has a whole year to win that X Division title and break the record. I honestly could see him winning that X Division sometime next year and winning and breaking the record. Probably maybe I could see it at either either at Rebellion or at Slammiversary. But I definitely do see him breaking the record. He has a lot of talent. He's going to be a huge star in TNA. I already read that. So during this match, like Mike Bailey focused on that left arm of Leon Slater. I mean, he was vicious, but this was freaking incredible. This was a damn good match. Hell yeah, I hope we get a part 2. I want more. The spot that I was like, oh my god, like he missed a Swanton 450, and I was just like, oh my god, that didn't hurt. Slater has mad potential. Yeah, he does, and he's only 20. Oh, there goes my back again. It could have been, and this could have been at Bound for Glory. It was a good match. It definitely could have been, but I can see why they did it here. Because after this match, Speedball Mike Bailey was victorious. If you just missed this match, I highly suggest you go back and watch it. They shake hands and he gives respect to Leon Slater. But we also find out it's going to be Speedball Mike Bailey versus El Hijo de Vikingo at Bound for Glory. That's going to be one hell of a match, and I cannot wait to see that match live and in person. It's going to be epic. It's going to be a lucha libre. So I cannot wait for that. All right, so next we get a segment with ABC and the Hardys. And we find out they're going to team up next week against the system. And we also find out that the Hardys were Ace Austin's inspiration for becoming a wrestler. Now, the Hardys say they've been doing this for 33 years. I'm 31. The Hardys have been doing this since before I was born. And one of the things I like about this is that Matt Hardy is like, it was like, he starts saying that this might be the last tables, ladders, and then Jeff Hardy interjects and was like, Full Metal Mayhem. So that was hilarious. But they basically said they came to TNA to win the tag titles, and I think that they are. I think that they're definitely winning that match at that Full Metal Mayhem match at Bound for Glory. So ABC ends up shaking hands with the Hardys, and I think it's going to be an incredible match. I really do. This stunned me because I had no idea Hijo de Vanquigo could return to TNA. I swear he signed to AEW through their 3PA relationship. Guess I was wrong. Will be a damn good match. Yeah, I think Hijo de Vanquigo is still with 3PA. And you guys remember way back, January? Was it Hard to Kill? Or was that a Rebellion? I think it was that Hard to Kill. There was a TNA 3PA partnership, but I'm not sure what happened to that. I think this was part of it. Although that was funny. It's basically tables, ladders, and chairs. The rules were confirmed last week for the first time since 2015. Bound for Glory, the titles will be suspended high above the ring. Okay, yeah, I mean, I know basically it's a tables, ladders, and chairs, but Full Metal Mayhem is TNA's version of a tables, ladders, and chairs match. All right. So we get a Steve Maclin segment, in-ring segment. You guys remember last week, Sinner and Saint zip-tied him and took him out so he couldn't help poor Eric Young when he was getting beat down by the Northern Armory. By the way, I have to say, I really like the tracksuits to the Northern Armory. I'm so glad that Josh Alexander gave him those tracksuits because I was not feeling the plain white tee and the jeans. And why the hell did Sinner go out there shoeless? He went out there with no shoes. So, one of the things I like about this is that Josh Alexander brings up the fact that Steve Maclin was the nastiest and self-serving scumbag in TNA. That's true. He was. And he also talks about how, he put his body on the line so that people that get fired, like Steve Maclin, could have a place to work. And that's true. Steve Maclin was released from the WWE. He was part of the Forgotten Sons, and then he came to TNA, and as they say, the rest is history. He calls Maclin a failure. Now, who can remember Steve Maclin and Josh Alexander's incredible rivalry? Unfortunately, we were robbed of the Rebellion match because Josh Alexander did get injured. Now, Steve Maclin hasn't beaten Josh Alexander. He's got 2 victories over he's got a victory over Sinner and a victory over Saint. He just needs to, like I said earlier, slay the dragon, beat Josh Alexander. I'm digging here with Josh Alexander here. I really am. I think this has been his best work to date since, he was champion for a year. The Northern Armory then attacks Steve Maclin and they zip tie him. And Josh just stops him and calls him stupid and then hits him with the C4 spike. So at Bound for Glory, it's going to be Steve Maclin versus Josh Alexander. I cannot wait. That's going to be a renewing of rivalry. I cannot wait. It's going to be incredible. So you get a Santino Marella segment, and he's spinning the balls for the Carrier Shotgun Land. He's with his daughter, Arianna Grace. For those of you who don't know, Arianna Grace is Santino Marella's real-life daughter here. I like how Kaz interrupts this, and he demands to be in the gauntlet, and then he calls Arianna Grace's crown stupid. Either we get Steve versus Josh at Bound for Glory, or they interact in that 20-person intergender Carrier shot. They said we're going to get Josh versus Steve Maclin at Bound for Glory. Assuming Rhino and Bob Rhino will go into Hall of Fame on Countdown, it's at 7 p.m. Yeah, I forget. Detroit's on Eastern time, so this is going to be a unique experience for me. Watching a pay-per-view on Eastern time. I'm so used to my pay-per-view starting at 4 and ending at 8. My bad. Must have missed the announcement. Thanks. You're welcome. No, it's okay. That's what we're here for. So you can tell you what happens. So I thought this was a good Frankie Kazarian segment. Him just being a heel. Next, we're supposed to get Brian Myers versus Mike Santana. But the match never happens because, Santana enters the ring, and Myers and Santana attack each other before this match even starts. And he takes out the system and goes back and calls out to go looking for Moose. But then Moose attacks him with the bat and tells him, careful what you wish for. This is going to be, I'm surprised, really, really surprised that Mike Santana versus Moose does not have a stipulation to it. You think as personal as that rivalry is, that they would add a stipulation. But then again, they didn't add a stipulation for Moose versus Josh Alexander. So, I'm sure it's still going to be a good match, but I'm really surprised they didn't add a stipulation to this match. Maybe it'll come if there's a rematch. Now, that's when we get the Jordynne Grace and Masha Slamovich segment, but I already talked about that. So let's move on to the main event, which ends up being a pick your poison match. Nic Nemeth versus Matt Cardona. Keep saying it should be a steel cage match. I agree. It should be like a steel cage match or something that would make this personal, because it technically is. I mean, Moose ordered the system to attack Mike Santana, causing him to not participate in that Slammiversary challenge. Yeah, no way will that be within the rules. Next week is their go-home show. Maybe we get I was thinking false count anywhere. I'll get into that right now. So this is, decent match. Frankie Kazarian was on commentary for this match, and he was just killing it on commentary. I kind of thought he was going to cost Nic Nemeth this match, since technically Nic Nemeth is the reason why Frankie Kazarian ended. Well, I don't want to say, why he lost to Joe Henry, because technically he had beaten Joe Henry, but because of Nic Nemeth, they reversed the decision. With their history, this was probably the last TV match Cardona and Nemeth have. Yeah, I could see that happening. So Nic Nemeth is victorious because PCO comes out, and with that distraction, Nic Nemeth is able to hit the danger zone. So PCO carries Cardona away, and then Frankie Kazarian attacks him. Joe Henry comes on and he helps Frankie, because he helps Nic Nemeth. But this thing that happened afterwards. Frankie Kazarian reveals that he's a special guest referee for the Nic Nemeth Joe Henry match. That left me scratching my head, because I'm trying to make sense of this. How does this make sense? Maybe I need to wait till next week, because next week is the go home show. No lie though, this felt like a go home show. I don't know how you guys feel, but this to me felt like a go home show to Bound for Glory. This was a really good show. But anywho, I'm hoping next week we get some type of explanation as to why Frankie Kazarian is special guest referee for this match. I'm just trying to make it make sense storyline wise. I mean, yeah, Frankie couldn't. Technically he did beat Joe Henry, but the decision was reversed, so he was screwed. Yeah, I would have suspected triple threat. Maybe it honestly doesn't make sense unless Frankie survives call your shot and he does something crazy to cash it. Maybe he pulls a Moose. You guys remember? I was there for this. You guys remember Bound for Glory 2021? Moose won Call Your Shot Gauntlet, and he robbed Josh Alexander of his moment. Josh Alexander had just won the TNA title off Christian Cage, and what did Moose do? Robbed him of his moment. So maybe they're going for that. Maybe Frankie Kazarian wins Call Your Shot technically, or allows Joe Henry to be Nic Nemeth, then robs Joe Henry of his moment, like Moose did to Josh Alexander. What do you guys think? I don't know. I'm hoping. I'm pretty sure next week this will all make sense. Right now, it doesn't, but I'm sure TNA has a logical explanation for this. All right. Well, that concludes this review. This was actually a really great show. Like I said, felt like a go-home show. But I'm really excited. I cannot wait. Next week is a go-home show. And like I said, I will be at Bound for Glory. Britt should be back next week, and we should do predictions as well. So with that being said, thank you guys all so much for watching and for the continued support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you can notify whenever I go live or release a new video. And I will see you guys next week for the go home show to Bound for Glory. Bye.